Right. Hello. How are you? Good morning or good afternoon, good evening. Around here, it's a bit late in the evening. I would say night. And I'm recording now because it has been really hot during the day here. So I decided not to record because I wouldn't be able to talk with you and reason with all this heat. Just a bit of water. All right. As you can see by the title of the video, I decided to make a summary, a breakdown of what does the EU actually exports to the United States and what does the United States exports to the EU. And the reason why I'm doing this is because, at least around here, we have been talking about the so-called negotiations that apparently are no negotiations, or at least a negotiation in the sense that normal countries understand them regarding the tariffs and all that crap with the American president. Okay, so I decided to make this video just to make a quick breakdown, and I even went so far as to do some further research, watch the economical indicators, and then make a small resume that I have here and I'll be reading and I will be explaining it. Okay, you can find the same the same exact data in any official uh, publication of economics or trading or whatever. Okay, it's rather easy to find it. You can even Google it, and Google will also show you a breakdown. And don't worry, it's not that biased, okay? But they do use some words, and I found that to be very interesting. That can be a bit biased, but that's that's for another video. Okay, let's start. First, let's start with what does the U.S. actually sells to Europe? Okay, what does the state produces and sends to Europe? And this is exportations. Okay, this is a breakdown of what the US actually sells to Europe. Let's start. Okay, now I have here it has machinery, chemicals, vehicles, and other manufactured goods. Okay, and now going down to the specifics, what does the EU import a lot from the US? Oil, gas, cars, airplanes, and blood products like plasma. Okay, if you don't know why plasma is so important, ask a doctor and he will tell you. Okay, plasma is really important, but we are talking about attention. We are talking about numbers that range between the year of 2021 and 2024. Last year, I know there was uh, how you say this in English, some imports from the US diminished significantly, especially in terms of cars, medical products, and weapons. This is an example, okay? But for now, okay, these are official numbers. Let's continue, okay? But what does the EU buy in terms of oil products? Well, plastics, uh, rubber, also leather products that are not related with oil, but American leather usually is good. It's especially good for the production of garments. Okay, so it's good. It's good. and then some machinery and mechanical appliances, and also the transportation equipment, meaning rail cars and all of that. Now, when we come to the manufactured goods, what do we have? We have the machinery and vehicles, cars and airplanes, chemicals, and other manufactured products. What are other manufactured products? It's all of it. This is rather infantile, this way of describing it, but this is what I can tell you. It's things that are made, meaning they can be assembled. So, for example, the product that the US is exporting to Europe, like a car, can have its tires made in Mexico, okay, and it can have the aluminum or whatever brought in from Canada and then assembled in a factory in the US, and that factory may well be a factory of a European company, for example, like a German car company or whatever. Think of that. This will be important further down the road. Okay, then we have fuels. We have some basic agricultural products like soybeans, like nuts, walnuts. California walnuts are have always been rather common. Okay, almonds and also some wheat. More now probably because of the lack of supply of wheat from Ukraine, which was the major exporter of wheat into Europe. Wheat and grain of all kinds. Now, they also say here that the EU is, I think was, but is a key market for US agricultural products such as the soybeans, the nuts, like I was telling you. Look, almonds, walnuts, pistachios, all of that. Dry nuts, okay, that we then here process in our own particular way. But we also produce a lot of it. So, but we import it, okay? As I told you just now, uh, the American walnuts from California, people like them, okay? And also the almonds and all of that. All right. And there's also here, they are talking here about spices. I don't really know what do they refer to, but perhaps probably herbs. I don't know because we produce a lot of them. Now, in terms of transportation, we have here the aircraft, yes, spacecraft also, and parts of vehicles, and also some, let's call it, pharmaceutical products. Not that much. So, basically, now I followed my little guide just to not get lost in my rants. But basically, the US sends some agricultural products to Europe, so they are able to sell it under our rules. Send some soybeans, send the dry nuts, all of that, some wheat, other grains too, I think, corn also, peanuts, American peanuts, we like them. Okay, I have always seen American peanuts around alongside with ours, so it's been fairly common. Not so much right now, but they are still here. You will notice you won't see beef or chicken naturally because it does not follow the rules of the EU. It does not follow our own health uh, rules because you see. Let's first let's just talk a bit about this so that everyone understands. The beef is number one As I told in a comment recently, around here we prefer to import beef from South America. And countries like Portugal and Spain have a historical tradition related to the fact that we colonized South America, Central America, okay? And we always buy beef mainly from Brazil and Argentina, okay? Number one, because of those obvious connections. And number two, because the beef is better. Pardon me. So, whenever we cannot source the beef in our own countries, and we also have a large production of beef, or elsewhere in Europe, we buy it from South America. And it has always been like this, okay? This was happening when the countries in South America were colonies of Portugal and Spain, okay? And it continued to happen after their independence because family connections, trading connections, economic connections, even some political connections, they continued, okay? And our own countries, not so much in Spain, but they also have a large production of beef. Portugal, for example, the Azores Islands, okay? We produce a lot of beef there. Beef, dairy. To me, in my opinion, it's my favorite beef, okay? If it comes from the Azores, that beef is pristine and it's of excellent quality, and I love it. I'm completely honest. I have eaten beef from a lot of places in the world, and that, for me, in my opinion, it's the best beef of the world. But this is my opinion. Okay. We also have production here in the southern provinces of the Alentejo, and also in the northernmost uh, province of Trás-os-Montes, which is like a little square between our country, facing the Galicia and Leon in Spain, and that has good pastures also for beef, and that is it. And then we have an entire range of meats that we use and that we eat. Some of us also eat horse like the French. But I have I have eaten it. It's not bad, just not my cup of tea. But it's meat like any other meat. We eat pork, we eat chicken, we eat rabbit, okay, and then goat, sheep. Sheep. We have sheep. We have a lot of production of sheep, especially in the hilly center of the country. Because if you don't know, South Portugal is more plain, but we do have some minor mountain ranges and whatever. And then the center is mountainous, okay, hilly, really. And you go here to the next door to Spain, the same thing. They also produce their own meats. We even share some productions like the pata negra, which is a variety of pig that exists in central South Portugal and Spain. It's in the province of Extremadura. Okay, and then you have France with a large production of beef. Okay, and dairies, veritable mammoth. One of the most hard negotiating points when we entered the EU, because we also needed to protect our own beef and dairy production. And that is it. The reason why American beef, for example, is not bought like we buy the South American beef, it's because it's shit. Because you fill the beef with hormones, with other, with steroids, with an entire range of stuff that we know it's bad for your health. Look, Animals here, beef, okay, let's talk specifically about beef, cows, they of course, they are treated with medicine, okay, for diseases, for parasites, for all of that. Subs- no, we want healthy animals to eat. We don't want sick animals to eat. But in the US, you pump your beef with hormones, with steroids, with a chemical cake, and then you don't understand that we have scientific proof that that is bad for you. Okay, it's proven. I don't know what the hell they are telling you in the US, but it's proven that that beef is extremely bad for your health. Okay, it basically attacks, for example, a developing child, a developing kid. Okay, it turns women, okay, obese and sterile, and it sterilizes men and turns them obese. Okay, that shit is not good for you. Why do you think that all those buff guys at the gym that taking those steroids can have problems downstairs? Okay, because that develops muscles really fast and really good, but it then attacks your glands. It attacks basically your ability to have sex and reproduce. That we have to be very attentive on what we put in our food. And this is the reason why the EU developed uh, these standards. These standards are here just to protect the person, the people, okay? This is not some kind of look. No one woke up in the morning and decided that American beef was bad. No, they performed tests on it to see, to prove. And some producers inside of your country are producing according to our rules to export to us. Or do you think we buy your soybeans if they are not good or according to our categories? So all this crap talk. They don't want our beef is not good. No, yes, you are absolutely right. We don't want your beef, but not because it's American beef, but because it's a shit beef. Eat it yourself. Want to eat that shit? Eat it, but don't give us to us. Don't try to sell it to us. Okay? The chicken. The issue here, it's not the chlorinated chicken. What does this mean? Chlorinated chicken. It's basically to wash the chicken, kill the chicken, okay, preferably for chickens, and then wash them with bleach them, clean them up, all nice and dandy. The issue, it's not the act of chlorination, of what residues remain in the meat, because the residues that remain in the muscular meat are harmless, okay? Unless you are eating chicken every bloody day, it won't it won't disturb you at all. If you are eating innards and blood, another story. But if you are just eating a chicken leg, grilled chicken leg, whatever, fried, I love it, okay? I also love it. Fried chicken, okay? Amen. No issues. If you eat it today, once a week or something like that, it won't hurt you. The issue here is this. When they chlorinate the chicken, that hides the filth in which the animal was being raised, the parasites that animal might have, the diseases that animal might have. And by doing that, you, the consumer, or an expert that is watching over the quality of the meat, will be fooled or might be fooled. And you might bring home a piece of meat that looks absolutely good, that you eat it, it tastes good, whatever, and then it might have a parasite, it might have a bacteria, a disease, whatever. Even some small residue of some kind of whatever that animal was subjected to. And also, it also masks the way the animals were being raised. Around here, we are still imposing rules through a different production of food, of animal breeding, in order to make it more humane, to give the animal, for example, free range chickens here, it's the most common right now. Okay, so this part of not wanting American meat, it has scientific and regulatory reasons. It has nothing to do with persecutions or not liking it or whatever. It's simply because it's shit. Look, if you eat it and you like it, my friend, your country, eat whatever the hell you want to eat. But we, in our countries, we will eat whatever we want to eat. But just when they start with this rhetoric, you just tell them this. In the EU, first, we see if a product is suitable for being consumed. And in the US, you have to prove that that product was bad for you. But they can pump it in the food chain anyway. So you are your own guinea pigs. And here, we refuse to be guinea pigs to companies, to whoever. Okay? Now, as for the other products that we import from the US, okay, it's the cars. Yes, there are some cars that will be imported. Teslas are dying in the market, but Ford still exports. I know that. I see them. Okay, but they're also decreasing, and Ford also has plants here, so they make their cars here. But some cars still come here. Okay, again. But these are all assembled products, if you will notice. Few products are actually, let's call it, American products. These are products that require a series of economical networks to be produced. You need Mexico, you need Canada, sometimes you need countries from even from Europe. There are countries in Europe supplying your chains for products that you are producing and selling here, which I find hilarious. Because, for example, if you impose tariffs on those products, you're going to be tariffing yourselves. True. So double jamming. But for now, let's. I will. Then, in the end of now that I'm going to start about talking about. Sorry, about the EU, what the EU exports to the US. Now we are going to see those connections. Okay, what does the EU? Sorry about this. Uh, my my P, my PC today has decided to annoy me. Ah, here we go. Now, what does the EU export to the US? Pharmaceuticals, medical and pharmaceutical exports. In 2024, it was around 120 billion euros worth. So this is a major slice of exportations of the EU to your country, to the US. So what does this mean? Medicinal and pharmaceutical. It means, for example, things like insulin, okay, aspirin, antibiotics, alcohol, whatever, every range of products. And this also includes things like, for example, masks, protective equipments. It means that all of that. And this is a significant part of the exportations that the EU sends to the US. Okay, then you remember that I told you that the US exported some machinery to Europe. Well, guess what? Europe exports a significant quantity of mechanical and industrial machineries, and according to this data, it was around 92 billion euros in 2024. Another huge slice. And of course, cars, vehicles, and transports, valued at 70 billion in 2024. Electronics and electrical equipment, 45 billion euros in 2024. Chemicals and food and drink. Now, as I told you, now let's break down the subject that I was beginning before I gave you this rundown of what the EU exports to the US. When I was talking about what the US exports to us, the US exports to us essentially products that are manufactured, that are created in the US, but that require a chain of production that requires other countries to function. Meaning, you in the US, in order to export these products to you, you need the EU itself, you need Canada, and you need Mexico. Things like gas, things like oil products, like plastics, like rubbers, like paint, all those products that are extracted from oil. And the EU is still buying some oil because we still need it. For example, Portugal produces around 70% of its energy in green energy. But we have 30% that we need to feed with oil still. Okay? We need fuel for our cars. And we were never, but we are not one of those European countries that was buying gas and oil from Russia. I think we in Spain, in Portugal it was around, I don't know, 5% or something like that, and in Spain it was around 10% or whatever. No, we always imported our gas and our oil from the US, from North Africa, and from Nigeria, for example. Okay, so we always had but we continue to buy some oil from the US and gasoline, and not all those products. But these are all products that require production, okay? For example, you cannot just plant it in the ground like soybeans, for example, and sell them. Then you have those natural resources. And now, with these tariffs, we are doing the same thing as China is doing, for example. We are going to buy those soybeans from Brazil. And countries like Portugal, for example, and Spain were already importing a significant part of those natural products, let's call it agricultural products, that we cannot produce sufficiently in quantities sufficient enough for our industry here. We were importing them from South America. And right now, what is our, let's call it, what's our carrot to buy them from the US instead of buying it from South America? We can, we already have, remember this, when you think of the EU, you cannot think of Portugal, Spain, France, Germany. No. Consider this. A company in Germany needs soybeans. Okay? It makes a contract with a company in Portugal. And that company in Portugal has a subsidiary or an associate producer, whatever, in South America. Okay? So Germany is let's call it, not taking advantage because that's not using. Germany is using the connections of a Portuguese company in order to import from South America or from Spain to Argentina. Okay, then you have the German companies, for example, they have car production here in Portugal, in Spain. So these companies that they create here, they have contacts. It's a complex network, and the US was having access to this complex network. Spain has a lot of contacts in South America, Portugal also South America, Africa, Japan, Korea, China. Right now, Portuguese citizens can go, for example, to Macau and establish businesses there, trade almost freely, practically freely with mainland with China, and import export here. For example, wines. We sell a lot of wines this way. Uh, People in Macau, some of them have Chinese because we have no issues with that, not like some others. Let's not talk about this right now. Like I told you, my the person that taught me martial arts, he was from Macau, was half Chinese. His mother was half Chinese. His father was Portuguese. Okay, see one of the connections. But for example, they have businesses there. They import wines from Portugal, and then those wines are sold all over China. Okay, and other products, no meat products, pork products. Okay, a lot of stuff, and other companies, for example, from France, from Spain, whatever, they then use those connections, those Portuguese companies, or and vice versa, okay, and vice versa, and use those companies to sell their own products because we are here to trade, and to trade means that everyone receives something. Mr. Trump does not understand what trade is, does not understand what negotiation is. In my opinion, they are following their own agenda inside of the US, and their agenda is to get rich. This is why the big bill, cannot call it wonderful, was approved. This is all a scheme to get rich. This is my opinion. Okay, and the rumors about him being paid to do whatever he is doing, they are getting more and more apparent. Because let's look at the proof. No, I'm usually look. When you listen to me saying this, remember I'm saying this allegedly because this is like I always tell you. This is a guy sitting next to you in the cafe across from you. We're having a beer or a cafe or whatever, and we are talking. But figure me this: Trump is allegedly 2 hours speaking with Putin. Okay, hours later, except cancels, stops the sending of some defensive weapons, missiles to Ukraine, of weapons that Ukraine was buying. Okay, and those weapons were already in the Netherlands, and they say no, 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 send them back. Okay, now I have heard on official let's call it disinformation, in my opinion, that Trump is mad with Hexet and he told him not to do that. Okay, I will believe in that someday, maybe. But then again, after all of this, when Kiev is replacing the defensive batteries, the largest attack to date of Russia with drones and missiles to Kiev. If there is something I have learned in my life, is that there is not no such thing as a consequence. That does not exist. It does not exist. Sorry. I know people want to believe in magic, in those things, but me, I'm a bit too pragmatic to believe in those things. Maybe it's a defect, maybe not. What is it? Whatever. But we were talking about economics. And now Trump is going to say wants to apply tariffs. He doesn't want, for example, to pay VAT on his products exported to the US, to the EU. And he's a complete moron because you want to know what VAT is. VAT is a tax the state, each state inside of the EU has its own. I'm going to explain this to you. There is a minimum that might be zero value of VAT, and then a maximum threshold of VAT in all countries of Europe. And each country has its own way of dealing with it. For example, here in Portugal, you have products that are considered staple for the food consumption of the country, and those staple products may have zero or a minimum VAT. And other products, for example, like sweets, sugar, high contents of sugar and salt products, and uh, and for example, alcohol, uh, computer products, all of that, those have a higher VAT. And luxury items also have a higher VAT. And some of those products even have an extra taxing because they are considered not so good for you. Like, for example, tobacco, sugar, and salt. We have one of the harshest sugar and salt taxing in Europe because we have a lot of issues related to it. Okay, we like food, we like salt and we like sugar. Okay, and we need to reduce the consumption so that we don't turn into a nation of fat asses like the U.S. So our government, instead of sitting around and twiddling with their fingers, they simply increase the price on those products and force people to eat healthier. And here we can eat healthier and not that expensive. Okay, so these are taxes that all countries have. The U.S. has it. Each state in the U.S. Charges a tax on consumer goods, be it food, be it whatever, at their own leisure. So they charge whatever they want according to their rules. Of course, they must have rules for those things too, just like us. Okay, but they charge it. And in the EU, each country charges the different taxes according to their own rules. So VAT, it's not some kind of extra tax on anything. It's a tax you put on all products. We put VAT on our products, we put VAT on imported products, all of that. And what is the practical effect of these tariffs? If you put tariffs on the products we are selling you, you will either buy them in EU take in the tariffs, you the consumer, you will pay them, not us. So if, for example, he decides 20% of VAT on all French cognac, when you go to the supermarket, you will not pay 20 plus percent over your cognac. You will pay around 60 because we will sell it to them, to the American importer, with those 20%. So, for example, if it was 100 euros, it will be 120 euros to the American producer, importer, sorry. And then when he sells it to you, he will add on his own profit and his own costs. So, what the practical effect of this is that it will increase the price of products in your country. And then you have the essential products that I was talking about in the beginning of the video, the ones we export to you, like medicine. Well, you heard me. Also, I forgot to mention this, but we also import a lot of components for weapons, okay, for your little jets, for your little tanks, for the weapons your little soldiers carry. They have European components, and those components you are going to have to pay for it. And if the madman puts the tariffs on those products that will be in the middle of others, okay, this is not just the worrying of having your Cristal champagne or whatever more expensive. No, this will hit each and every productive sector, social, economical sector of your companies. Because, for example, you start imposing taxes on German companies, and it's no longer profitable to produce inside of the US because some components might come from here, from Europe. They are going to receive a tariff. Others are produced in Mexico. They are going to receive a tariff. Others are going to be produced in Canada. They are going to receive a tariff. So those companies, instead of producing inside of the US, will, for example, move their entire operation to Mexico, and that way, when they sell those cars into the US, they will just pay one set of tariffs. Do you understand the pattern that is being created here? And with the food products, do you think good French cognac is not sold in Europe and won't be sold to other countries? This is just a silly example. For example, Portugal exports a lot of textiles to the US. Up until 2 years ago, I think, the US was our largest business partner outside of Europe. It surpassed the UK, that is also fighting its own wars with its silly Brexit. Do you think it will take 1 second for those high quality products that is in which we specialize in? Do you think it will take 1 minute to find another market for them? Look, there are bottles of Portuguese olive oil, which, if you don't know, I know the Spanish olive oil is famous, but the best olive oil in the world, the two best olive oils in the world, come from two places: from Portugal, South Portugal, and from Greece, and they are worth their weight in gold. So much so that we now are paying more for our olive oil inside of our own country. And I know this because I only use Portuguese olive oil. We are paying more for it now because it's being so sought outside of the country. So they are exporting a significant part of their production. In shops in Moscow, in St. Petersburg, you will find Portuguese olive oil for sale in the black market, of course, around 10 times its worth here. So, do you think we will be very much worried if we need to sell elsewhere instead of the US? Plus, you were 13% of the world's market. You were. I have my serious doubts that you have not. We will do exactly what the Chinese are doing. We will sell elsewhere. Many of our products, the Chinese will gladly buy them. In fact, they are doing just that. They are stealing your imports. Instead of exporting to you, they are exporting to China and other places. The world is a big place, okay? It's just hard in the beginning to break the market, but then you break the market. The EU, for example, we have the Mercosur agreement that it's almost complete. We have the agreement with Central Asia. That one is complete. Okay. North Africa, certain countries in the Middle East, that is now turning to shit. Thank you very much to Israel and Mr. Trump in his little planes. Okay. So you have to understand this. You have to understand that to put tariffs on a group of countries that simultaneously are a part of your own production chain will only bring one thing. That production chain will be compromised in terms of production, in terms of even feeding yourselves. This might seem odd, okay? But the US might face a situation of food shortages if it's not already facing it. Because in between locking up the immigrants that are actually working, look, they're not jailing the criminals. They are jailing the guy that is picking up the fruit or whatever, or working in the farm. Do they have to legalize that situation? Well, of course. I also have told you my position in terms of immigration. But you do things right. If those guys, if they are working, go to them and tell them status and take care of it. If the person has the conditions to stay inside of the country, let them stay. If the person does not have conditions to stay, make them leave. Just in the latest weeks, around 5,000 or something like that of foreigners living here, they received a assignment to get out. And if they get out on their own volition, they can then try to reapply again, following the rules. If they don't, next time they are caught, they're deported. Okay, why? Why? You are going to spend millions, in this case, billions, transforming a border patrol in some kind of a Gestapo. Look, they are hitting restaurants, they are hitting farmhouses, they are hitting the places where your own economy depends on. Construction sites. I did some construction, my friend. It's not easy. It's not bloody easy. And you are jailing the people that do that job. It's ridiculous. And these tariffs, look, like I told in that comment, whatever the tariffs that are applied, Europe will benefit from it. We will earn money, just like the Chinese are earning money from your tariffs, because you need the goods. And if you don't need it, we'll sell them elsewhere. And as for the soft power, well, now it's gone. What reasons would we have to buy some more American products if we are being threatened and being subjected to tariffs and zero support? Who needs allies like that? Well, I did rant a bit, but I hope you understand that these tariffs, look, they are not going to work. And if you listen to the someone saying, "Oh, the EU caved in," when they make an agreement, just like they were saying, "Oh, the Canada caved in." No one caved in. It's like look, it's like negotiating with someone that is drunk. You give him a carrot, so he will shut up. This is what will happen. He will get a carrot and he will shut the fuck up. Because then he can go down to his country and go around, look at me, I'm so good. Like Nero playing the playing the harp while the Christians die in the Colosseum. Okay? No, it's ridiculous, my friends. This is bloody ridiculous. This is bloody infantile. And if at the beginning this was funny, it's not funny anymore. Well, thank you again for listening to me. Sorry for my rant, and I will try to make some videos more like this, okay? Presenting some numbers, maybe some graphs, other stuff that I'm planning. And I'm sorry for not being posting so much, but this is it's very hard to record like this. Okay, well, bye.